Brandon Graham, his legacy to you. Hugh, when I say Brandon Graham's legacy, what is it to you?
2-time Super Bowl champion, longest tenured Eagle ever, and just the epitome of being in Philadelphia to me. I think Brandon Graham is like everything that I would want – well, not really want to be, but I admire him for the person that he is. You know, because I think back on – you know what's the ironic part about all of this? Is the same people that called him a bust probably are some of the same people that cheer for him and wearing his jersey and all this other stuff.
Same people that might be crying when he cried 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, and the same cats that when they talk about him say, oh, I was always a Brandon Graham fan. But he's embraced everybody. Like Brandon Graham is the epitome of what it is to be on social media. And he talked about it how, you know, how tough it was for him to go through that bus scenario, and for how tough it was for him to go outside because he was embarrassed, and how his wife talked him through all that, to become one of the most iconic Eagles to ever put on the football game. I mean, put on the football uniform or play the game. I mean, think about that. You talk about Jerome Browns. You're talking about an elite group of guys. Jerome Brown, Reggie White, Seth Joyner, Brian Dawkins, just to name a few.
Yep.
Hugh Douglas.
I mean, thank you, Kyle. But I'm very humbled to be. It's very humbling to be in his presence and to have the type of relationship that I have with him, because he's accomplished so much. He's seen so much. And even though I am the elder statesman, I think his legacy should be revered, and it should be like a template that every NFL player, especially if you're playing here in Philadelphia, need to follow.
I said this to you guys off air, but I think it's true. I think Brandon Graham is the greatest Eagle of all time. I mean,
I don't think that's far-fetched.
Like, to play 15 years, the most games ever played in an Eagles uniform, 2 Super Bowl rings, the defining play for their first ever Super Bowl championship. I mean, the number's going to be retired without question in my mind.
Yep.
And I just think all of that together, you can make the case that, like, obviously it'll depend on how you personally define what greatness is. But to me, I think Brandon Graham is the greatest Eagle of all time.
So, he's up there, right? He played the most games ever. You said he made the defining play in franchise history. Though, I think he's like the ultimate Eagle. He embodied every part of
Exactly.
Eagles and Eagles fandom, right? Like, he wasn't the best player in the NFL, but he was a really good player for a long time. He also went through we had all the different range of emotions with him, Hugh. You said it. Like,
yeah.
He was a guy that a lot of people in the beginning just said he's not that guy, right? He's not that.
Didn't like him.
He was a bust. That was the way he was viewed because of the way his career went the first 3 years. And to hang on, like, there's something about his career that to me embodies, like, he's the ultimate Eagle. Like, and the loyalty that the fans here show, he showed it to the team. He never left. I mean, to play 15 years, I believe he's the only Eagle ever to play in 200 football games in an Eagles uniform.
Yeah.
That's so many games.
Yeah, and you talk about, for me, it's the legacy, the history of him as a person. I remember when Brandon got drafted. I remember when they drafted him, how Andy talked about him and how people talked about him when he got hurt his first couple years, and they were talking about he wasn't that good. And there was a time where, if I'm not mistaken, there was some conversation being had about whether or not they were going to keep him or try to let him go or whatever. They worked through all of that, and he was here, and he had some of the most significant moments as an Eagle. I remember calling him after the Rams game, and I said, "Dog, if this is the end, what better way to go out?" You know, because that's what we would talk. When we would talk, I would just talk as a friend and tell him, you know, hey man, you've done a lot. Like, there's nobody that I think that if you, like I said, you put your career up to anybody else's, I don't give a damn if you're in the Hall of Fame or going to the Hall of Fame. You take Brandon Graham's career and you take a Hall of Famer's career and you ask somebody, what do you want to be when you're done playing? It's a toss-up. I mean, because when I think about what he's been able to accomplish, man, I remember when I got drafted playing for the Jets, I was like, hell, I ain't never going to know what it's going to be like to play in the playoffs. Never. And that was my first couple years, you know. And then obviously I got traded or whatever. And then I started somewhere else. But to be somewhere for as long as he's been somewhere in one place and to see so many different forms of this Eagles football team, of this franchise, to go through so many different changes, man, and to be here for all of them, that's big. I can't express to you enough how big that is. You've seen it all. That's why he should write a book. I think if Brandon wrote a book, no, hands down, the first couple months it'll be the bestseller in Philadelphia, no question about it.
I mean, look, he connected with this fan base
Yes.
to a level that most players never do. I mean,
No.
he is beloved, and he should be. 215-592-9494. Brandon Graham, the official retirement here. What a career. And Hugh, 15 years in
15
one
of them
city.
things.
And there's
In
not many
one
players
place.
in the history of Philadelphia, any of the teams, to play for 15 years, to never go anywhere else. Like, he's an Eagle. I'm excited for the next stage of his life and career. I'm sure he's going to do something in the business that we do. I mean, he's been on the air for years with the Brandon Graham Show, which, has been great.
What are we going to do before the Players Lounge now?
I don't know.
Damn it, man. I don't know. Maybe we could talk Brandon into doing something with the station, man. I mean, I know it's
I
still,
hope he does. I
I know.
hope he does.
I know it's still early. And Brandon, I know you still probably talking to folks, man. But damn, I just thought about that. What we gonna do?
You worried about your lead-in?
Oh yeah, we had a nice little lead in, man. Hey, and the fact that we got a chance, he flamed one of his teammates right before he retired. He lit him on fire.
That night was wild.
No,
that
it
night
did.
was.
No.
He joked about that in the press conference. Like,
Yes,
at
he
least I don't
did.
have to deal with all the reaction
No,
when I
hey,
say something.
And then he got off stage in Brandon Graham fashion and asked, "Hey, was that too much?" Nah, bro, not at all.
Just enough.
It was just enough to keep us going. Now you on the other side of this thing now.
Yeah, he is. All right, 215-592-9494. That is how you hop aboard. All right, we'll come back. Next segment is for you. Your reaction, your thoughts. What is Brandon Graham's legacy to you? One of the great players in franchise history, 15 years. What a career, 2 Super Bowls, and the most iconic play and most important play in Eagles history.